day to each and everyone. So I'm your first discussant, Marjeline C. Lopez. So our topic for today is all about sustainable development. So let's get started. We are now in lesson 26 entitled Sustainable Development. So in this lesson, we have a lesson objective. So after this lesson, you should be able to recall the different definition of sustainable development. Number 2 is to examine the various challenges to sustainable development. And the last one is to articulate links between the sustainable development and the globalization. So we have this contemplate. So sustainable development is that which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. So sustainable development is that can be defined as an approach to the economic development of a country without compromising the quality of the environment for the future generation. So, in the name of the economic development, the price of environmental damage is paid in the form of land degradation, soil erosion, air and water pollution, and deforestation, and etc. So, this damage may surpass the advantage of having more quality output of the goods and the services. Challenges to sustainable development. Number 1 is poverty. So we all know that poverty is usually referred to as the lack and deprivation of important basic needs of people. So it also identified and measured through the per capita income. So in the Philippines, poverty incidence was recorded at 21.0% in 2018. So that is according to the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA in 2018. So poverty incidence is the proportion of the poor population to the total population. So it means that in the Philippines, 1 in 5 person is poor. So it means that poverty directly impacts the economic growth due to the constraint in credit and in the underdevelopment of the financial market and inequality in income and asset also. So another cause of this poverty in the Philippines is that the rise of the unmanaged population growth. So let's move on in income and inequality. So there is clear evidence of the past economic growth since 20th century as measured through the global per capita or GDP. So, however, despite the booming economy, the gap between the rich and the poor also increased. So, as mentioned, the per capita GDP of the richest 25% of the global population increased almost 6 times, leaving the poorest population behind the IMF 2000. So, this persistent inequality is seen to be an enormous challenge to the sustainable development in UN 2013. So again, income inequality is that how unevenly income is distributed throughout the population. So, the less equal the distribution, the higher income inequality is. So, income inequality is often accompanied by wealth inequality, so which is uneven distribution of wealth. So population can be divided up in different ways to show the different levels and forms of the income inequality, such as the income inequality by gender or race. Different measures such as the Gini coefficient can be used to analyze the level of the inequality in a population. In average annual family income in the Philippines in 2015 was 86,000 for the poorest 10% of the Filipino families. So while the richest 10% had up in 786,000 average annual family income. So that is according to the Family Income and Expenditure Survey PSA in 2015. So this, however, is not the extent income inequality in the country. So, IBUN or Ibon Foundation collected data on the monthly income of the top businesses in the country and reported that Chief Executive Officer of Metro Pacific Investment Corporation and Manila Electric Company, or what we call on Meralco, have 7.8 million monthly income compared to the poorest 16% of the Filipino families with only 5,455 monthly income. So that is according to IBUN or Ibon Foundation in 2018. Moreover, poverty is not only about income, but it also about insecure income, lack of decent work, lack of education, insufficient nutrition, poor housing, lack of clean waters and utilities, lack of asset, vulnerability, exploitation, and violence. So that is according to the IBUN or Ibon Foundation in 2018. Unsustainable patterns of production and consumption. So maintaining sustainable consumption and production patterns in society are important aspirations, including in the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Consumption of natural resources has been tremendously increasing in the last decade. So WWF discussed that in the year 2010-2013, the world population had been consuming 1.5 Earths in terms of the resources and ecological services we access. So this referred to us that ecological footprint, which refers to the goods and services consumed by person, including the use of fossil fuels to provide these services and products. Because of too much ecological footprint that exceed the capacity of the planet to provide, biodiversity is threatened. So some threats include the habitat destruction, overfishing, pollution, infrastructure development, water over the extraction, and poaching, leaving planet to report in 2014. So however, some of the richer countries have the highest footprint and highest consumption compared to the poorest countries in USA and China are the responsible for the 32% of global ecological footprints. That is according to the Living Planet report in 2014. The consumer culture or the obsession with the material goods puts pressure on the environment. However, the consumerist behavior that drives people to acquire the innermost amount of the material goods is embedded in a broader system, I should say, in crisis. So, the story of the stop argues that the fundamental problem is the maintenance of the linear system over the extraction, over the production, distribution, consumption, and disposal of the finite environment. So this system does not only jeopardize the environment, but it also the system that compromise, I should say, the people's health, human rights, and well-being. So let's proceed to the environmental destruction. So when we say environmental destruction is that the present system of the production and consumption creates the tremendous impact on the environment. So the present destruction and production processes often involve of over-harvesting from ecosystem beyond the regeneration capacity of the environment. So the massive carbon dioxide emission and the exploitation of common water and land resources. So the following information on the state Philippine environment. So that is according to the Center for Environmental Concern. So here is the list of the environmental indicators. Number 1 is the forest cover. So the description of this forest cover is that at the end of the Spanish colonization, forest cover was more than 20 million hectares. So by the end of this 2010, forest cover declined that it only 23% at 7 million hectares. So it means that forest covers that amount of the land area that is covered by its forest. So it may measured as relative in percent or in absolute. It's square kilometers, square per miles, like that. So we have the number 2 from the least mineral wealth. So the description that in June 2019, there were 488 mineral agreements covering in 705,102 land area. So that is according to the Mines Geoscience Bureau. So it means that natural mineral substances contained in the deeps, in solid, liquid, or gaseous state, including the groundwater and therapeutic mud fit for usage in material, I should say, that production are hydrocarbons. So we have the third one from the list, the agricultural ecosystem. When we say that 41.7% of the Philippines land area is utilized for agriculture, but the poverty incidence of human is at 34%. That is according to PSA or Philippine Statistics Authority. So agricultural lands are declining. So when we say that agricultural ecosystem is that artificial ecosystem that created in the process of developing land and coastal or aquatic areas for farming animals and fishing. So we have the fourth one from the list, freshwater ecosystem. So when we say freshwater ecosystem, one of the 10 Filipinos do not have access to improved water sources. So population of freshwater bodies. So freshwater ecosystem, the areas on which humanity depends for its precious resource are under increasing pressure. So freshwater is the lifeblood of our planet. And freshwater ecosystem connect people with the resources they need to thrive. So, but when rivers, lakes, and wetlands are degraded, their ability to provide reliable supplies of clean water and to support the species on which millions of people depend. So, we all know that freshwater from ecosystem is very important. So we have the fifth one from the list, the marine ecosystem. So the description of this marine ecosystem, number one is the Manila Bay population. Number two, depleting the coastal marine resources, depletion of the fish stock and fish species extinction. The last one is the threaten the coral reef. So when you say marine ecosystem is that marine waters covers 2/3 of the Earth's surface. So making the important to the health of both aquatic and terrestrial environment. So the last but not the least, the urban ecosystem. So the destruction of the green species such as the plant conversion of the Aroceros forest park into a gym. So when we say that urban ecosystem, apply the ecosystem approach to the urban areas. Urban ecosystem are the dynamic ecosystem that has similar interaction behaviors as natural ecosystem. Unlike to the natural ecosystem, however, urban ecosystem are the hybrid of natural and man-made elements whose interaction are affected not only by the natural government but also culture, personal behavior, politics, economics, and social or organization. So deforestation is due to the over-extraction of the forest-based products by commercial logging and massive export of forest-based products. So exploitation of mineral wealth is exacerbated by the Philippine policy that allows 100% foreign ownership of mining companies. So urban dwellers in Manila experienced the worst water shortage in March 2019. So mineral resources of the Philippines are being over-extracted by the foreign mining. So foreign mining companies, I should say, that expense of the local communities and indigenous people. So these environmentally destructive practices exacerbate by the poverty and vulnerability and already poor by the marginalized sectors. That is according to the Center for Environmental Concern in 2019. So in short, that deforestation refers to the decrease in the forest areas across to the world that are lost for the other uses such as the agricultural croplands, urbanization, or mining activities, so greatly accelerated by human activities since 1960. So deforestation has been negatively affecting the natural ecosystem, biodiversity, and the climate. So of course, we have the summary of these lessons that the sustainable development have a goals in the Philippines. So what is that? So the sustainable development goals are global call to the action to end the poverty, protect the earth's environment and climate, and ensure that the people everywhere can enjoy the peace, prosperity, and these are the goals in the UN working on the Philippines. So this data or section currently being updated on the just like the no poverty, zero hunger, quality of education, and etc.